Okay, hello everyone in the five continents and welcome to another edition of our international English online meetings. This morning we have three guest speakers from Panama, Oderay Quijada, Emy Torres Ortega, and Ormelis Rodríguez. Welcome, dear Oderay, Emy, and Ormelis.
Thank you,
Good
Jaime.
morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. Okay, as usual, let me share my screen. Okay, so we can see, sorry, what we are going to do today. So today is July the 12th, 2026, and unbelievable, this is our 149th International English Online Meeting. If you want to watch all the past webinars, you can watch them in our World Educators Community YouTube channel, or as some people are watching and listening to us in Facebook Live. Please, could you read this quote, Oderay?
Of course, the man who does not read good books has no advantage over the man who cannot read them. Mark Twain.
Yes, my friend. What do you think, Oderay?
Definitely, reading is really important. It helps us to learn many things, to open our mind to new things, to know the world about within it, within the
Yes,
books.
that's true. That's true. My dear Emy, could you please give me a hand and read the next quote, please?
Of course, we know what we are, but know not what we may be. William Shakespeare.
My friend, another friend of mine. We know what we are, but we know not what we may be. Anything to say about it, Emy?
Well, that's very important because we should have like objectives and try
Right.
to work for them, and not only external things to achieve,
Yeah.
also internal, personal things.
Right. Okay. So who are our guest speakers in 2026? Well, on July the 26th, we will have our good friend Maria Mareco from Argentina. Then on August the 16th, Lorena Ojeda, also from Argentina. Later, on August the 30th, we will have Rana Bilal from England. Then on September the 13th, Gabriela Ladrón de Guevara from Mexico. Then our good friend Mónica Rodríguez from Argentina on September 27th. Then Ofelia Mendoza from Mexico on October the 11th. Then Rafael Cervantes from Mexico on October 25th. And finally, on November the 1st, Gracia Mendoza and Julio Roa Rocha. But today we have three guest speakers. Oderay Quijada. Something about Oderay. Oderay Quijada holds a BA in English from Universidad de Panamá and a master's in TESOL from Universidad Latina de Panamá. She has more than 25 years of experience teaching English at all levels in both public and private institutions. Oderay, a past president of TESOL Panama, has presented at the TESOL International Conventions, various TESOL affiliates conventions, and the 𝐼A-TEFL convention. She's currently pursuing her PhD in English linguistics at the University of Panama. She also works at the University of Panama and at IPT Don Bosco. Then our new good friend, Emy Torres, is a student in the English bachelor's program at the Faculty of Humanities, Centro Regional Universitario de San Miguelito, CRUSAM. She is recognized for academic excellence, leadership, and a commitment to civic engagement, a volunteer at the Panama TESOL Annual Convention 2026. Emy was a national finalist in Panama's National Oratory Contest and the champion of the Electoral Tribunal's first debate tournament. She's passionate about communication, education, and empowering young English language learners. And then finally, at the end, not the least, but not least, Ormelis Rodríguez González is a student in the University of Panama's English bachelor's program and has a professional background in customer service, technical support, sales, and communication. Fluent in English and Spanish, he brings strong interpersonal skills, technological competence, and a passion for lifelong learning. His expertise in communication and problem solving enables him to share practical strategies that connect real-world communication skills to English language teaching and learning. So welcome, dear Oderay, Emy, and Ormelis, and thank you so much for the time you are going to spend with us on a Sunday morning. So Oderay, Emy, and Ormelis, the screen is yours, and you may start.
Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you.
I'm going to share
Thank
the
you.
document.
Thank
And
you.
if you want me to do something, tell me because I will probably not see you.
Okay.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Amy. Okay, good morning, everyone. I just want to tell you that I feel very honored to be here and to share this space with two of my students, Emy Ortega and Ormelis Rodríguez. The topic for this morning is From Page to Classroom, Using Classic Literature to Foster Intercultural Competence. Next one, please. We are going to start sharing the agenda for today. So we are going to start explaining the purpose of this project, to share some theoretical support. We are going to see the description of the project, but we are going to see that in two steps. First, from the teacher perspective, and then from the student's perspective, they are going to tell you about their experiences and their reflection on the work that they did. Then we have the benefits and some future plans for this work. So let's start with the purpose. We have different aims. The first one is just aligned with the subject that we are teaching at the university with this specific group, which is reading and writing. So we want to reinforce, to improve reading and writing skills, as well as to expand vocabulary through authentic material. Then we have the cultural discovery. We want them to have the opportunity to read some classics and also to explore in traditional Panamanian stories, including indigenous ones. And in addition, we also want to have the opportunity to reinforce, to improve, to develop some key skills in our profession, such as teamwork, time management, organization, creativity, critical thinking, among others. So let's start now, okay, here with the theoretical framework. Indeed, we started with culturally responsive pedagogy because it highlights that learning becomes more meaningful when students connect with academic content with their own cultural background. That's why, besides using classic stories, we decided to add also traditional Panamanian stories. And we wanted to go beyond that, so we wanted to include also indigenous narratives. And also, this work is a project-based learning base because it encourages students to actively engage in authentic tasks as this portfolio last product. Next one, please. Okay, so now let's describe the project. This project originally was planned to be developed with four-year students. But then we changed it and we decided to develop it with first-year students, bachelor's in English language program, in this specific class, reading and writing one. Well, we have a group of 16 students. We presented them the project, the purpose, how we were going to develop during the semester. We dedicated 6 weeks to work on it. We have 3 class hours per week, and we use 2 of them. Besides that, we also have the support of Professor Iván Arango, who teaches linguistic competence, and sometimes he allowed us to use part of his hours to work in our project. To start the first week, as I said, I gave them all the description of the project. Then in the second week, they formed 3 themes. The themes were formed by themselves. They decided with who they wanted to work. They also started brainstorming to select the stories. And in the third week, they just started writing their own versions. They are starting with their draft. In the 4th and the 5th week, then we have those office meetings where we met around 20 to 25 minutes with each one of the teams to check their progress and receive feedback. But something really nice happened in the 4th week. Dr. Juan Rios, who is my advisor, was in Panama, and he kindly accepted my invitation to go to my classroom and give a talk to my students. So he developed a topic about storytelling and culturally responsive pedagogy, which was a plus in our class and for our project. Then in the last week, week number 6, well, the 3 themes get together. They got together, they work on their final reflections. They put everything together. They wrote their introduction, the conclusion. They add all the references, but they also have to read the whole work together because they have to give each other feedback. So it was like a peer feedback in that part to put all the work together. At the end, next one, please. The final result was a well-developed literary portfolio that include 2 classic universal stories that they reimagine, that they change because they have to adapt the stories to write new versions, but always being respectful from the original teaching or message of it. It also has 5 Panamanian stories, including 1 𝐂𝐝𝐿 indigenous one. But well, this was the theoretical part, the boring part of this presentation, because now comes the part that really is the center of it. When my dear students, Emy and Ormelis, are going to tell you about the project from another perspective, not the teacher perspective, from their perspective, their experiences while they were developing the whole project. So, Emy, Ormelis, the stage is yours.
Thank you, thank you. We are so glad to be here. And well, I'm going to start introducing you to our hard work. And it is titled One Sky, Many Tales, Panama's Place in Universal Literature. And as you see, we chose this title because for us as university students, it's pretty important to keep our culture. Because nowadays we have a kind of trouble not only in Panama, in many countries around the world, because we want to universalize or to keep something that is not from our culture, from our nationality. And Panamanians nowadays don't are in touch with those tales that we classically know. And if you ask probably some kids nowadays about one of these stories, they will not know at all the content of each one. But well, I'm going to introduce the next slide. It is a little phrase that we wrote, and it says, for all Panamanian kids and older ones, because our children and big kids deserve a national identity. As I mentioned before, the national identity is something too important for each one of us. And I'm going to read the introduction for you. One Sky, Many Tales, Panama's Place in Universal Literature, is a special collection of Panamanian folklore and classic international stories. This book connects Panama's cultural identity with world literature, proving that stories can cross any border. Our goal was to refresh these traditionals and classic tales for modern readers while carefully protecting their original morals and lessons. This project is the result of hard work, research, and creativity by a team of dedicated students. In every adapted story, you can see the personal emotion and experiences of the students who worked on it. This collection is made for readers of all ages, making our national literature easy to understand and enjoy for everyone. Inside the book, you will find famous stories like La Cucarachita Mandinga, La Niña del Salto del Pilón, Hansel and Gretel, and The Ugly Duckling. Each tale is presented with modern adaptation alongside a short look into its original cultural roots. Finally, we invite you to open your mind and heart to these adventures. We hope these pages inspire you to appreciate our traditions, remember your childhood, and discover that no matter where we come from, and we all love good story. Enjoy this reading. Well, I'm going to give you a little spoiler because the majority of the readings comes from this book. I don't know if you can see it, but its name is Narraciones Panameñas. And it's pretty important for us because, well, in Panamanian schools, this little book is supposed to be mandatory in primary school and sometimes also in secondary school. And I don't know if you can see here, but it says my name, and I used it when I was in 4th grade in primary school. So this little book have many years with me. Then let's start with Muria and 𝐵𝐶𝐿. I have to clarify something. Not all the stories are from this little book, as I mentioned before, that is written by Berta Maria Cabezas. That's pretty important because this one is the one that comes from the Nove culture. And we had here a little help from another partner. His name is Franklin. He's on 3rd year because he is part of this indigenous population, and he gave us this story and we just adapted, but it's pretty important right now to show you the original one that is the most important right now. So we're going to read it together, and it is pretty traditional. It's too Panamanian. The title says, Muria and 𝐵𝐶𝐿. A long time ago, Muria, the chief of all the Ogoris, wanted to prove that he was the fastest and most powerful of all. One day, while walking along the seashore, he met 𝐵𝐶𝐿, the chief of the crabs. Muria asked him who could run faster, and they agreed to hold a race 4 days later. Very confident in himself, Muria boasted that he could run across plains, mountains, and rivers without getting tired. Meanwhile, 𝐵𝐶𝐵 came up with a plan together with a crab friend. He left his friend near finish line to help him. When the day of the race arrived, both competitors got ready. As soon as Muria started running, 𝐵𝐶𝐵 secretly grabbed onto his tail. Through the race, every time Muria looked back, he saw 𝐵𝐶𝐵 close behind him and thought he was keeping up. As Muria approached the finish line, he believed he had won and started celebrating. However, before he could shout in victory, 𝐵𝐶𝐵's friend, who had been waiting at the finish line, shouted first. This made it appear that 𝐵𝐶𝐵 had arrived ahead of him. In this way, Muria has tricked, and 𝐵𝐶𝐵, the chief of the crabs, was declared the winner of the race. They say that this is how the famous story happened. And I want to make a little clarification here because we have normalized that each story has to have a moral meaning. Like the story is telling you that you shouldn't do something or that you should do something. But in this case, we loved this story because it is not about what you should or not do. It's about to show up a real situation. Because in our life, in our daily life, probably you have met someone that cheats all the time or for some reason. Or maybe you have met someone that celebrates before know that already achieved something. So part of our presentation is to show you that the Nobe culture in Panama is very important and is another thing that we don't have any official textbook or written document about this story because this is a story that is from oral tradition in those indigenous cultures. So it has been preserved. Maybe in the beginning it had another characters, but now we just know the crab and the 𝐂𝐝𝐿, because in Panama its name is 𝐂𝐝𝐿. For you, if you didn't know, it's 𝐂𝐝𝐿, and the crab, because those animals are endemics of Panama. So then you have the look of the original one. Well, here we have the analysis, as I said, okay, the connection with nature, of course, as a indigenous culture, the nature is pretty important for all of them. And this is the main point, and the whole environment, the characters are from the nature. So the oral tradition is another thing, the animals as cultural representatives and community knowledge, because of course, if you ask someone of Nobe culture, they probably will answer you about that little story. Well, here we have another little things that the overconfidence, the cleverness over strength, support of the community because one crab supported the other one, even if it was for cheat. We have the acceptance of the results because we don't know if the 𝐂𝐝𝐿 told anything else before he noticed that he wasn't the one that won the race. The intelligence, the teamwork, maybe the humility, respect and fairness. There's some things that we would like to tell you. So here comes my partner Ormelis to talk about the cucarachita mandinga tale.
Yeah, next story is the cucarachita mandinga. Well, the exact origin of the story is oral and anonymous. with multiple versions that have been adapted with various authors throughout the Americas and Europe. The most famous and representative version in Panama is the theatrical farce written by the Panamanian author Rogelio Sinan in the 1930s. This story has different roots and key adaptation. For example, the classic Panamanian version, in this case, written by Rogelio Sinan, um, that and the premiere at the National Theater of Panama on December 8 of 1937. In this play, the author combined oral tradition with Afro-Hispanic American cultural elements, giving it sense of identity and nationalistic formation. The Central American version, in the other hand, the one of Central America, such as Costa Rica, the most widespread and collected version from oral tradition is by the writer Carmen Lira, published in her famous book Cuentos de mi tía Panchita. The universal roots of the original tale is lost in time, but it belongs to a family of fables well known in Spain, Portugal, and Latin America. In the rest of the Latin Americas and the Caribbean, such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, the same story is popularly known as the Cucarachita Martina. In Europe, it shares the exact same structure. Um, However, the name is of the title is a little different. In this case, the little vain mouse, la ratita presumida. Okay. We created our own version of the Cucarachita Mandinga. In this case, the little cockroach Mandinga in Motor Panama. And for this one, we can say that first, Mandinga finds um, files files while collecting while she was cleaning, she collected a little coin, and that Mandinga finds a bill someone dropped. She gets excited to buy something special with it. Um, Shopping, she has a shopping trip to Metro Mall, which is a mall here in Panama City. She decides to treat herself to a hair bow and a perfume. She takes a Metro bus to Metro Mall, one of the Panama's popular shopping center, admiring the tall building, busy streets, and the green parks in the way. The new look and social, in this case, at the mall, she buys a pink hair bow and floral perfume called Flor de Panama. Back home, she puts them on, feels beautiful and confident, and posts a picture for her friends on social media. The suitor, her post attracts several admirers, but none are a good match. Benny the Bull sends loud voice messages to noise for peaceful conversation. Then we have Peter the dog, friendly and loyal, but barks all day and sends endless voice notes, too much for her quiet lifestyle. And then we have Gary the cat, self-absorbed and focused on followers and popularity. Rick the rooster, cheerful but plays loud music before sunrise, would ruin her sleep. Meeting Perez the mouse, just as Mandinga loses hope, she meets Perez. He's polite, respectful, listens carefully, treats everyone with kindness, and doesn't try to impress anyone. They become best friends, fall in love, and get married. Their wedding is a big Panamanian celebration.
Sorry, I moved the slide. Which one were you?
Yes.
And this one? still
Next,
or the
next.
next one? Okay, sorry. Here you can see the original one. The original complete one version that we made. But here we have the comparison of the story. Go ahead.
Okay. For the comparison between both stories, the stories we make versus the original ones, we can say that both stories share the same similar themes, values, and cultural elements. And they use storytelling to teach important lessons about respect, kindness, and making wise decisions. While La Cucarachita Mandinga is a traditional Panamanian folk tale that reflects the country cultural heritage, our story presents these lessons in a more modern way for today's reader. Even, even though the setting and characters may differ, both stories encourage good character, responsibility, and respect for each other. Well, for our reflections on this, the timeline was to first read and understand the original story, search a little bit more about the original story background, deconstruct the plot, theme, and core characters' motivation. Then we discuss the new title and the characters' names. As a group, we built a modern day Panama City setting and the character personas that we were going to use for this story. We created an initial draft of the Little Cockroach Mandinga in the modern day Panama. And this draft was presented to teacher Oderay. And once secure, we got her approval, feedback, and everything. We were ready to finalize the script based on all of her feedbacks. Okay, as an analysis, we can say that the culture theme, the original story is of African origin. The Mandingas were a Black people from Senegal and Nigeria. This shows the Afro-Panamanian and Caribbean influence in our folklore. The social scene, it talks about economic needs and marriage. A cockroach finds a coin and uses it to look for a husband. It prevents how poor people try to improve and fit into society. The values, of course, intelligence and humility. She rejects rich suitors and choose a simple mouse. It also teaches not to waste money on appearance.
Perfect, thank you. And here we have another tale. And I want to show you the original page from the little book. Let me find it. This tale is from the book of Narraciones Panameñas. This is like the first page of the little tale. I don't know if you can see it well, but I'm going to give you the summary of it. Well, Buen Esculantro, pero no tanto, is a known tale in Panama. Not precisely by the title, because it is also a refrain. I forgot the word in English. Excuse me, but well, it is pretty known because its origin comes from when Panama were like building itself as a country. And here we had many situations. At least the story present you the following situation. A person who is from China in Panama had troubles with the military people here in the country because he said he were with one party, political party, the conservative one and the second time with the one that were liberal. And the thing here is that in those times, those parties were enemies. They couldn't be one next to another because they were going to have a fight. So you can imagine how was it for those times. This tale is a representation of that reality. And also you have to remember that by those times, here in Panama, we have more problems and a big one about discrimination, and that's pretty important. That's also part of the analysis, but the story is about a Chinese people that were punished because he wasn't supporting the right political party. So let's see another thing. Santiago de Mackay were the one that wrote this story, and he was also a journalist in Panama, and that's something important. Here we have an imagine of culantro, because I know in some other countries, culantro is not culantro, is cilantro, and it's a little bit confusing, but here we have the image to clarify that. Well, the story shows how political division and abuse of authority affect ordinary people. A Chinese worker was repeatedly mistreated because soldiers demanded political loyalty by using with instead of walking side. He escaped punishment, showing that intelligence can overcome conflict. And here we have our version. Even the best spies can ruin the soup. As you can see, this is not as Muriel Mesele, this is more long, it's longer, but I'm going to give you the explanation about this version that is the one that we made. At first, because it is a political topic, we choose a reality that we have here in Panama nowadays. That is pretty difficult to find a job. That's a reality here and probably in many other countries because the demand and more things. But we adapted because also sometimes, not just in Panama, it is a thing of an universal story that happened in many places and all the time, unfortunately, that is based on your political decisions. And it shouldn't be, because if you are prepared, it's supposed to, you should have a job according that preparation. Well, let's talk about the main story. It is about a girl called Maria Fernanda González. And she was pretty prepared. She had a lot of degrees, a lot of certificates on human resources. And she went to an interview, and the interviewer of her first meeting asked her at the end of all which were her political party. So she answered about one of them that was in this imaginary case, Panama Party of the National Future Alliance, as you see. And then she went to her house. Few days later, she received an email telling her that even if she had all those grades and preparation, she couldn't have the job. Then she went to a second meeting with another interviewer. And during the interview, also asked the interviewer asked her for the political movement that she supported. And she answered the progress of her Panama Party. And she went again to her home, and a few days later, she received another mail telling her that she having to work again. And at the end, the main thing is that she went to a third interview. And in that interview, everything were pretty fine. So everything were excellent. But this time, the same question came again. And this time she answered different. She said something like, well, tell me you first, which party do you support? And because it was an intelligent answer, the interviewer were pretty excited about the answer. And here we gave the story an open closing, but we can assume that she had the job at the end. And if you see the last lines of the story, it says, and that is why people say even the best spice can ruin the soup. Based on the story Buenos Culantro, pero no tanto, by Santiago D. McKay. Well, this is the story, and we adapted it as I mentioned before. Here we added this illustration about the party, the political parties, and all the situation. And here is the struggle and the traps. I'm going to read it for you. Maria Fernanda González, a highly qualified and educated professional in Panama City, struggles to find a job despite her impressive degrees and certifications. The traps. During her first interview at a government institution, she is asked which political party she supports. She answers honestly and is rejected. In a subsequent interview for another job, she tries to correct her previous mistake by making the opposing party, only to find the leadership has changed. She is rejected a second time. Even the best pies can ruin the soup, the turning point. Realizing that the question itself is a trap. So she faces the same political inquiry during third job interview. The resolution, instead of choosing a side, the person, Maria Fernanda, questioned back on the interviewers, asking which party they supported first. Her clever response breaks the tension, fills the room with laughter, and leaves her feeling satisfied that she successfully avoided the political trap. Comparison. As I mentioned before, in the original story, it was about a Chinese person, because this story also talks about a society problem of discrimination, not only with Black people here in Panama, also with Chinese people that was in the main story, the original one, and how Panamanians until today, and probably people from other parts of the world, have to lie or to adapt themselves to the political situation to survive. Because in this story, we don't know anything more about the life of Maria Fernanda. We don't know anything else about the life of the Chinese person of the original story. But what happened if their social situation were different, or were not stable, or difficult, or their economical situation also? Those things, maybe we don't analyze it at the first time, but it's pretty important. Well, I am going to read the comparison from the slide. Both stories shared a title that makes sense with the story narrative. Since of them, for example, the coriander and the spice present something positive, exciting, or high quality in moderation, like talent, passion, a bold idea, or intense personality trait. On the other hand, we can clearly see a political pressure scenario, a clever response from our main characters. This adds a great value of intelligence, demonstrating the ability to think quickly and use words in a clever, imaginative, and amazing way, which is a form of intelligent humor characterized by sharp, spontaneous quips or insightful observations rather than broad physical comedy. They both highlight a message that tells us that everything in excess is not good and can get you in trouble or bring bad consequences sometimes. It also tells us that we need to be aware of what's going on in our surroundings, and keep ourselves updated on what's going on in our country or the world around us. Next, we have the social or cultural themes, political conflicts and abuse of power, because in the original story, the Chinese man, were punished by militaries 2 times. So you can imagine the how big were the trouble. The discrimination and injustice, the wisdom and quick thinking, Panamanian story importance and identity. The benefits: improved reading comprehension, translation skills, critical thinking, creativity, cultural understanding, and comparison skills. The project reflection timeline. Step 1, read the original story, bueno es culantro, pero no tanto. Step 2, plan the new adaptation, focusing on keeping the original scene while modernizing it. Step 3, select the characters and choose Panama City as the setting. Step 4, wrote the initial draft of the new story. And step 5, received teachers' approval and feedbacks to then move forward to polish and improve the final story. The bibliography, as I mentioned before, 𝐒𝐲𝐻 is the greeter of La Cucarachita Mandinga. He was a Panamanian man that had many books published, and he had worked in the education ministry here in Panama with Ricardo Miró in many occasions. And he wrote many books, and also he was a journalist, as I mentioned before. Here at the end, you can see some of the books that he published, as Saloma sin sal o mar, Poesía completa de 𝐒𝐻𝐻, La Boina Roja and Another Tales, and Cuentos de 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝐻. Let's move to another story presented by my partner Ormelis.
Thank you, Emy. All right, well, our next story is based on the original Hansel and Gretel story. Hansel and Gretel is a traditional German fairy tale collected by the Brothers Grimm. It tells the story of two poor siblings who become lost in the forest after their parents abandon them because of poverty. The children discover a house made of sweets and that belongs to a witch who plans to eat them. Using their intelligence and bravery, Gretel tricks the witch into the oven, rescue Hansel, and then the two return home safely with a big treasure. In this story, we can talk about cultural and social themes because the story reflects traditional European folklore and the importance of family, survival, and resource resourcefulness. The social themes, we talk about poverty, hunger, child abandon, courage, and overcoming difficult situations in that story. Values such as bravery, intelligence, teamwork, perseverance, and hope. Okay, for our own adaptation of the story, we selected the setting to be the Darien jungle. All right, in this case, it's an adventure through the Darien jungle that tells the story of two siblings who become lost in the jungle while helping their father gather firewood and fruits. After finding a hut made of local treats, they are captured by the jungle witch who plans to use Hansel in her magical stew. Using their courage and intelligence, Gretel tricks the witch, rescue Hansel, and the siblings escape in a boat. They return home safely with a big treasure from the witch hut and learn that bravery, teamwork, and clever thinking can help overcome even the most difficult challenges. Right here we have the story. Okay, a brief comparison between the original story and the one we adapted in the Darien Jungle. We can say that both the original Hansel and Gretel story, they both talk about adventure, in this case, through the Darien, that shares the same social issue, cultural themes, and values. Both stories describe poor family, children who become lost, a dangerous witch, and the siblings, bravery and intelligence to escape. The main difference in cultural setting, the original story takes place in the European forest, while the adapted version is set in the Panama Darien's jungle, a pretty wild and dangerous jungle, and includes local foods, wildlife, and traditions. Although the setting changes, both stories teach that courage, teamwork, and clever thinking can help people overcome challenges. All right, for the timeline, we, as a group, read and discuss the original Hansel and Gretel story. We brainstorm the ideas to adapt the story to the Panamanian culture. Choose the Darien jungle as the new setting because it was pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting and wild jungle. Replace the original elements with Panamanian animals, foods, and scenery. Wrote the first draft together. Submitted the draft to the teacher for feedback, received the teacher's approvals and suggestions, and made the final revisions, completed and presented the final story. Project reflection. Working on this project was fun and interesting because it allowed us to use our creativity while learning about both literature and Panamanian culture. Collaborating as a group helped us develop new ideas, improve our writing, and create a story that respected the original while giving it a unique cultural identity. The benefits of this project, well, improving our reading and writing skills, encouraging our creativity and imagination, strengthening teamwork and collaboration, increase the appreciation of the Panamanian culture, help and understand how stories can be adapted while keeping their original message, develop critical thinking by comparing the two versions of the same story, improve communications through group discussions, and teacher feedback. In conclusion, we can say that writing our own stories based on the classic tales was a fun and interesting experience because it allows us to use our imagination and give a new life to familiar characters and adventures. Adapting these stories to today's modern world made the activity even more creative and exciting. And since we could connect the lesson from the past with the situation of nowadays. We also want to thank teacher Oderay for encouraging us to take part in this type of activities and for supporting us throughout the project. Her guidance helped make this experience meaningful and enjoyable. We hope that teachers around the world will do the same and take our project as an example to encourage students, maintain culture, and keep the habit of writing new modern stories while rescuing the old ones, because literature is very important. And we want to thank you all for your attention on this presentation.
Yes, exactly. And I would like to add something else before the teacher Oderay comes again, because it's pretty important. I know I am a talkative person. You don't have to tell me. I know it pretty well. But the thing here is that after all this project, I want to tell you that it is not um, like in this presentation, we don't have all details that we worked on. As the teacher Oderay mentioned in the beginning of this meeting, we have two tales of universal literature as Hansel y Gretel and the Ugly Duckling that I mentioned in the introduction. Also, we have La Niña del Salto del Pilón, that is other story that comes from this beautiful book. And The Spirit of Balboa, that's another tale that we also have. And the one that comes from Nobel culture. This experience in general was very important for us. It was a little hard for us because it's the first time as a first semester students of English, but bachelor degree because we don't have the expertise of have had this done before. And again, as I mentioned in the beginning, some minutes before we starting the official meeting, it's the first time with Ormelis and me doing a presentation in a webinar. So you can imagine we were so excited, so nervous, so anxious with everything a little bit. But it's pretty important because we are really proud of our culture, of our roots, of our identity as students, Panamanian students, and that's something that we want to make you feel also, because as I mentioned in the beginning, that's something that I am not, I am really interesting you to have in your mind all the time, all days, repeating it into your head, because we have to appreciate our identity. If you come of, I don't know, maybe Costa Rica, Peru, Chile, or another country, it doesn't matter. What really matters is that we often forget that our identity in our countries is important also. Not just European cultures, not just North American cultures, not just Asiatic cultures. And it is pretty important for each one of us to make sure that you feel the same as us with these kind of things. So I'm going to let teacher Oderay say the next slides. Talk about them.
Thank you, Ormelis and Emy. Let me tell you that I feel so proud of you, so proud of your work, and so proud of all the team that is behind you, to here listening to you and supporting you. Well, the benefits of this project have been already said by my students. The benefit that I was looking for, they all met their benefit, what they mentioned that they got from this project. I have to mention something. I as we were talking in the classroom, in this class, there are students from different ages. And specifically with this one of Hansel and Gretel, when we were in our meetings, checking the progress and all those things, there were two ladies showing me the work. And one of my questions was, did you know about Hansel and Gretel before this project? The 35 lady said, yes, of course, I read it previous to this, many years ago. The girl who is 25 said, well, I have watched the movie already and some videos. And the girl who is 19 years old, she said, I have never heard about this until now with this project. So this was one of the objectives, that everybody have access to those things that sometimes due to the change of times and all those things, new generations do not know about those classics. So that was one of them. So I'm not going to repeat the benefits because they already have mentioned them. Well, now next one, please. I have to tell you about the future actions because we are going to have part 2. We are going next semester, we are planning to share this project with the education, the primary education and early education students in the university. Also, we plan to start designing lesson plans with interactive activities and games. And then we are going to present them to elementary and high school students. So we are planning to collect new data and probably to have the opportunity to present it to you next year in this same stage. Well, next one, please. Okay, here are some pictures of Dr. Juan Rios when he was with us giving his talk. And this is the whole group. Next one. This picture was taken in one of our university activities when we were celebrating Black ethnicity last May. Here you have the name of all the students that participated in the project. There were 16 students, or they are 16 students, plus Franklin, who was also helping us. Well, I have shared with you already the purpose, the different aims that started this project, but I haven't mentioned one that he has been hiding. And indeed, what I really want is my students picture themselves as great professionals, researchers, and presenters. So indeed, that is a big goal. So I think that it is just the first step for them to continue in that life. Okay, these are some of the references that we use. Next one, please. And well, previous to close, I just want to share with you this quote from a Panamanian writer who has been mentioned a lot during this presentation. Literature gives a voice to the identity of a nation, Rogelio Sinao. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you for being here, sharing your time with us. Also, a special thank you to Jaime and Ancajima for inviting us and to give us the opportunity to share our project.
I'm speechless, dear Oderay, Emy and Ormelis. Your presentation has been wonderful. We are 25 people here today. So there are many things that I've been learning. I feel envious. I envy you, Oderay, because I wish I had this kind of students, so talkative, so productive, so knowledgeable, and everything else. So we have some minutes for people. If somebody here in the audience wants to express his or her idea or comment. I have my comments to make, but I would like first, if somebody here in the audience, we are 25 people, So if anybody wants to say something about this fantastic presentation about this wonderful project. Anybody here in the audience, please? Zuleika, Natalie, Janet, Consuelo. Anyone? Please just open up your microphone.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm Zuleika Zapatero from Panama, and I am very happy about this project that my colleague Oderay presented and her students, yes? And I
Yes.
think it will be super material for our Panamanian students, yes, to know more about the culture, traditions, because nowadays they don't know those fairy tales. They don't know about that. So I think this project will help us to continue growing the knowledge of our students in culture. Yeah, growing and learning about those fairy tale and stories. So congratulations, Oderay, and your students. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Zuleika.
Yeah,
Thanks for your words.
they did,
We are
definitely.
very glad to hear that.
Thank you. Consuelo, you want to say something? Consuelo?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Congratulations. What a wonderful way to invite students to develop their critical thinking skills while paying attention to their cultural identity. I think it's an amazing job that needs to be done in different countries. I am from Ecuador, and I'm so happy to see that you have an excellent teacher who is guiding you in this path of becoming citizens of the world, because that's what we need. We need to recognize who we are, the set of identities that we bring together in the classroom, and then invite more people, especially the younger generations, to continue doing a good job in order to improve our societies together. As some of your students mentioned, it's not only important to value different pieces of work from different countries, but your national identity. Because I think now with social media, it's kind of a big influence to start valuing other one's identity and culture instead of paying attention to what we have and then grow from that. First, we need to have an excellent awareness of who we are, our roots, and then welcome everybody's identities in order to make sense of the world, because we live in an interconnected world, but not losing our identities. So congratulations, go ahead with your projects, and I'm so delighted to see that in a Sunday morning, I can be inspired by you all.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you
you,
so much,
Consuelo.
dear Consuelo.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we feel inspired. That's the word. Thank you, Consuelo. Len, you want to say something? Len?
Yes, Mr. Jaime. So, good morning, everyone, and so sorry for joining late
Don't worry.
Sunday morning. I was just, you know, paying a lot of attention to the adaptations you're trying to make to all fairy tales to the new ones and the Panamanian version you're gonna have. So, this is something incredible because you're going to boost the reading interest in young people now, which is they've been lost this kind of habit. So you're going to just recreate them and make them more, I would say, like unique and linked to your activity, which is so creative and so awesome just to develop the reading and also speaking skill, just like speech and everything is just going to be a little bit more interesting during the lessons and everything, which I just possess in my mind, like a way to start the reading habits is just having a cool and interesting name or content, and that's all you have. So thank you for sharing this kind of meeting and this kind of also like materials and everything. I was just like capturing everything in my mind about the images and the adaptations you just all made to this. And thank you to Ormelis, Emy, and Oderay. I was not able just to pronounce your names, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you, dear Len. Where are you from, Len?
Nicaragua.
Oh, thank you so much, dear Len. Thank you. Thank you. Really, really thank you. And Michelle Rosas, you want to say something too? Michelle? Hello, Michelle, you're raising your hand? Okay, I guess she has some problems with her microphone, maybe.
Yes, she's one of our partners. She were involved in this beautiful project. So whenever she can connect again, we
All
can
right.
invite her.
Okay, anybody else here in the audience, please, who wants to say something or express his or her ideas or comments? Well, before your final words on this presentation today, let me remind you that our next guest speaker will be Maria Mareco from Argentina on July the 26th. She will be talking about shifting tongues, shaping selves, neurolinguistic and social linguistic perspective on subtractive bilingualism in Spanish and English classroom. Okay, so everyone is invited to participate on July in two more Sundays. Okay, before you, Oderay, Emy, and Ormelis say goodbye to our audience, let me say that you have shown what a real critical thinking material is. Something that Estela, I guess, Esmeralda from Ecuador said, is talking about our roots, who are we, where are we going, where do we come from, and etc. I just love the work you have been doing, you've done. I just have one question. You mentioned the benefits. What were the cons? What were the problems that you had to face to create this wonderful material? What did you have to deal with?
Principally the organization, because everybody had many ideas, but organize them is the hard part, and I can tell it to you because I were like a kind of exchange coordinator of the project, and everybody, of course, wanted to participate, and that's very important. I really appreciate it because each partner was pretty involved in the project.
How many
And
partners?
we are 16. I forgot the number of my
Yes,
partners.
16.
We are
16.
16, plus
16.
the one that helped us with the indigenous story. So each one was pretty involved in the development of this work. And as I mentioned before, when we have many opinions and ideas, it's a little bit difficult to select which one is the best for each tale or each situation, but at least we could, because you saw the final result, that is the most important part. And I want to keep two things that the persons that participate before said. And one of them is to keep our roots. I know I mentioned it also, but I can remember with the speech that we had with the professor, the doctor, that the teacher Oderay had the opportunity to meet with us in our classes. He talked something too important that I keep in my mind until today, because he said that we, as future English teachers, should help our students to learn other languages as English with their native language. So that's one of the other things that we are trying right now, and it was mentioned also in some of the Panama TESOL conferences, is you cannot make other people to understand another language, is you cannot connect it with their native one. And of course, make our stories accessible to the new generations and probably the older ones, because universally we have a problem. Nowadays, the adult thinks that they have all the truth, and they have the most part of the time the truth, but not all. And it's our turn to give them something different, something new, that is our work and our ideas and our effort.
Thank you, dear Emy. And there is a question in Facebook that Victor Birner makes to you, Oderay and Ormelis. He says, by integrating stories that have been adapted by authors like Rogelio Sinan to create a sense of identity and nationalistic information, how do you measure the impact this approach has on students' ability to compare their own cultural identity with the target culture during English lessons?
Well, I
Well,
would say that, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
I
that's
would
good. Go
say
ahead, Ormelis.
that, well, in this case, it will definitely help students develop their creativity, imagination, create their own stories. Because once you use your imagination, there's no limit. I mean, you can do whatever you want, whatever you think of, and definitely putting that into consideration for when writing a story. And that is something very important to keep the identity and in this case the cultural part, to maintain these stories alive.
Okay, thank you so much once again. And now this is time for you, Ormelis, Emy, in that order, and finally Oderay, to express your final words today. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your work. Thank you for being an example, Emy Ormelis. You are an example to many other future teachers in Latin America, in South America, about what you can do if you organize your time and you have some good objectives to do good work with your professors. So thank you, Ormelis. Thank you, Emy and Oderay. Ormelis, please, your final words today.
Well, definitely want to thank you all for your attention, um, because this project was very important. We put a lot of effort, energy, our time, because of some of us students, we also work, and it was kind of difficult to, arrange our time to work on this. But we were excited because at the beginning it was like, okay, what do we do? How do we do it? And once we figured it out, it was like the brainstorming was just, all these ideas were coming out so easy. Once we had our first story, then we were able to do the next one so easy. So I want to encourage everyone and all of the teachers and uh, future teachers in this case on this classroom to continue this wonderful job and to encourage others to do the same.
Thank you, dear Ormelis. And I'm sure that we will have you as a guest speaker in maybe a year, a couple of years, and you will be invited to present a workshop or a plenary someday in a conference. I'm sure about that. Thank you, Ormelis. Emy?
Thank
Well, I know I have mentioned it before, but we are too glad to be here with you to share our ideas, our points of view, our national identity, that is one of the most important things today. And I want to thanks also to all my partners that were working on this. And I will mention their names because it is too important for me also. They are Maudelin Martinez, Alice Montic, Natalie Calderon, 𝐂𝐮𝐻, Mayris Palma, Ormelis, my partner, of course, Juan Carlos Morales, Laureana Pinilla, Mavis Lescano, Sasha Deans, Natalie Rios, Michelle Rosas, Wendy Guerra, Jamie Núñez, Melanie Brown, and our partner of third year, Franklin, he was also a big part of this project. And at least we hope to have another conference soon, or in other occasion. But thank you for the opportunity, and Teacher Oderay, that you can say your final words.
Today.
Today, yeah, today. That's an important clarification.
Yes.
First of all, I want to tell you that you overcome my expectations, not now with the presentation, but during the whole process of this project. This is the first thing I want to say. I want to thank the audience who is here today sharing with us. And also want to thank you, Jaime, for giving us the opportunity to share with other people our project. I want to thank each one of my students who were involved in this project. And of course, to you, Ormelis and Amy, who were so brave to be here doing your first international presentation. So I feel so proud of all of you. I feel so proud of the things that you have done. And I know that you're going to have an amazing future as English teachers and professionals.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, dear Oderay, and I hope to see you and meet you in person in a near future in Panama or here in Peru or in any other country around the world. So thank you everyone in Facebook Live. Thank you to everyone who was here present in this webinar, and thanks dear Mary. Mary Scholl is coming back, and also the good friend from Chile. She said, I don't know if you read Oderay, what she said, but she said that she's doing something like you're doing about indigenous people in Chile. Lucia Ramos, she said, I'm designing a digital book with the stories from the different cultures and indigenous communities that inhabit the northern part of Chile. So you should
Wow, so
contact.
interesting. We should get in touch.
Yes, yes. Mary Scholl came back. Hello, Mary.
Yes, I came back, and I just wanted to say thank you all so much. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Wasn't it?
Yes, it was awesome. I love it. I love how you are really promoting culture and identity and really valuing it, and also just helping students have these really meaningful dynamic experiences. So thank you so much. And thank you, Ormelis and Emy, for being so brave to come and present online internationally. It's awesome.
Yes, you need to be brave,
Yeah.
and brave, and not to be afraid of being vulnerable or make mistakes, or that's part of life, isn't it, Mary?
It is so part of life. And I am so excited to think about Emy and Ormelis in 10, 15, 20 years. I want to hear all of the presentations that you're going to give us.
Here in Peru and in Costa Rica and everywhere.
Exactly. And Oderay, thank you so much for your leadership and your teachership. It's beautiful.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you everyone. Ormelis, Oderay, Emy, Mary, Mavis, Janet, Sindicato de Docentes de Inglés, Juan Carlos More, Yaelis, Samsung SMA 165, Zuleika, Natalie, Consuelo, Len, Michelle, usuario de Zoom, Yomairis Palma, Sasha Dings, Maria's iPhone, Vielka, Melanie Brown, and all the people who are listening to us and watching us in Facebook Live. See you in 2 Sundays. Thank you. Goodbye. It's time for me to go back home and
Thank you, Jaime. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Thank you. I'll see you when I see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.